Well, I've just completed my last dive in Cuba. I'm here at Maria La Gorda. Behind me is what they call Bahia Corrientes, Bay of Currents, which doesn't really make sense because there's very little currents. I haven't dove here since 2003. And I am a little bit on the disappointed side. I dove several times in Cienfuegos, Trinidad, and the Bay of Pigs on the south side of the island, about in the middle. And as expected, it was very, very fished out. Virtually no groupers, snappers, grunts. Thus the fish that rely on them, sharks, dolphins, they're all gone. Then very small cleaning type fish, they were all gone. But I'm back in Maria La Gorda. Maria La Gorda is still quite nice. The pinnacles and the caves are just outstanding, some of the best I've ever seen. But here again, there is a noticeable reduction of the larger animals. And here again, I did not find one goby, the type that do the cleaning. I am told by one of the local dive masters who I've known for quite a few years that part of the problem is because of very little currents here in the bay. And that's the whole premise of this research to begin with, of a process called larval drift. When most species of fish mate, the males and females congregate, shoot up in the water column, release their gametes, then the eggs float off to do their own thing. That's how they repopulate other areas. So if there's no currents here, there's no way to repopulate the species as long as fishing and that continues to take place. 3 or 4 years ago they did turn this into a marine sanctuary. So that slowed it down significantly, but there's still a little bit of fishing allowed, and like I said, there is a reduction. So I am a little bit disappointed with that. But all that means is that there's even more of a reason to do more research, bring more divers over here, volunteer divers, to help with this research. These are the slates that we use. They have about 150 of the most common species. We count them in 4 categories. 1, few is 2 to 10, many is 11 to 100, and abundant is over 100. Then there's a place on the back to write down species that are not on the list. In conjunction with that, I usually bring my video camera. That way, if there's more fish than I can write down because they're moving so fast, or I don't recognize the species, I can later come back to my room, look it up in my little book, and record those species as well. What makes it very difficult too is most parrotfish have 4 different stages. All 4 look completely different. Wrasses have generally 3. Many groupers have different stages as well. And many times the juveniles look like a different family entirely. So the video camera helps significantly, plus I enjoy doing it. Cuba-U.S. relations were a lot different in the 60s and a good part of the 70s, primarily because of the Russian influence during the Cold War and the Cuban Missile Crisis in the early 60s with John F. Kennedy. I have a little bit of personal experience. In the mid-70s, I was actually going to college in the Florida Keys. Very small college, very personal, diving every day, really tough. But Castro was going to allow family members of Cuban Americans to immigrate to the U.S. So hundreds and hundreds of smaller boats came over from the Florida Keys and Miami to pick up relatives of Cuban Americans. And they did to a certain extent, but Castro pulled a fast one and made the boat captains take on many prisoners and other undesirables back to the States. So it was a real gotcha for our government at the time. But other than that now, Cuban relations with the U.S., other than a few of the government officials on both sides calling each other names, Cubans absolutely adore Americans. It's been nothing but outstanding friendship, gratitude. People, I'm walking around the streets, people bring me into their homes just to show me where they live, give me something to eat, something to drink, and just want to talk. They just absolutely love Americans. It's just a great place to visit.
Nobody hears me. Okay, here we are at a fruit and vegetables market, which is a free market in the sense that the farmers or their intermediaries, they're standing here and they're selling fruit and vegetables and some kinds of meat, which is like a surplus of the agricultural production in this country. They sell at fixed rates, so the rates are fixed by the government. So here we have the statue of John Lennon, the Beatle. In the 60s, John Lennon and the Beatle music were actually prohibited in Cuba. It was considered as decadent, as a form of capitalism. But when John Lennon was murdered in 1979, actually 20 years later in 2000, according to the official version of his killing, he was murdered by the CIA. And actually he was a freedom fighter for socialism. And that's why they made a statue of him. And they put here the sign that says, "I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one." And in fact, Fidel Castro, he felt that he was that John Lennon and him, they had the same dreams. Only that the dreams of Fidel here in Cuba, they became reality. And John Lennon, he was murdered by the CIA.
Although Catholicism is the primary religion of Cuba, Santeria is widely practiced. The origins of Santeria stem from a form of African voodoo, where African deities are depicted as facsimiles of Roman Catholic saints. Followers believe that each person is born under a particular guardian saint that must be worshipped throughout their lifetime. This guardian saint is central to all rites and magic performed in Santeria. This tunnel goes underneath the harbor of Havana and actually connects the city to a large peninsula where Morro Castle is located. Located at the entrance to the harbor of Havana, Morro Castle was erected by the Spanish in 1589 to protect the city from buccaneers and was also used as a prison. The Harbor Master's office is still housed within the walls of this fortress. A sign of the times is also present in the form of small souvenir stands throughout the fort. Baseball is certainly very popular in Cuba, but so is football, or soccer as we call it here in the States, even if you have to play it with a cannonball. Ernest Hemingway spent quite a few years in Cuba, which gave birth to novels such as The Old Man and the Sea. Being a Hemingway fan of not only his literary prowess, but also his other thirsts, I decided to stop in for a Cuba Libre or two.
No sé si comemos. ¿Cuánto sale cerveza aquí? Okay, ahorita. Yeah, $2.50 for beer.
Whenever you're ready.
Hey? Okay.
It's good work.
Oh, hello, United States.
That's Joanne. Was boring. Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Okay, so cut it, start again.
Okay.
Cut.
I edited it.
I know. Take two.
It's ready.
Well, this is our new friend Rib, and we just met him yesterday, and we're sitting in this cool little bar in the middle of Habana Vieja, and we're so happy to be here, and we still can't believe the United States is making such a big fuss about this beautiful country.
Old American cars, since they were brought to Cuba prior to the revolution in 1959, are not considered to be fruits of that revolution. Therefore, they can be bought, sold, or inherited, unlike almost any other commodity in Cuba, and are not property of the state. This is what makes them so valuable and well taken care of, and not that they are considered relished antiques by Americans.
Well, I finally got my rental car. It's day 3. I'm leaving Havana, and I'm going down to Cienfuegos, Bay of Pigs, and I'm already lost. Okay.
Yeah, it's Cienfuegos. It's right ahead. Aguada de Pasajeros to the right, Cienfuegos.
And what's your name?
My name is Irving.
Irving. Thank you.
Good luck.
Well, with the help of whatever that guy's name was, I'm supposedly on Highway A1, on my way to Cienfuegos. Haven't seen a sign yet. I don't know if I'm on the right road. I don't know if I'm heading towards Cienfuegos. All I know is I'm going east because there's the sun. Well, there's not much out here, just a lot of flat ground, what looks like pine trees, and of course palm trees everywhere. There's cattle here and there. The good thing about the cattle, unlike Africa, at least they're off the road. You don't have to worry about dodging them, just an occasional pothole. And people everywhere hitchhiking. And I've been told by locals not to pick up hitchhikers on the major highway here. But it's in the towns and stuff, I can certainly do that. Like my last guest, without him, I would have never made it to this highway. Absolutely no sign. I'm obviously getting used to the car and the roads here because when I first started on the highway, I was doing 40, 50 kilometers. And my hitchhiker said that, oh, go ahead, you can do 100. And I've been finding myself creeping up over 100 now, so I better watch it. I have not seen a speed limit sign, so I don't know if 100 is the speed limit or not. And I don't want to find out the hard way. This highway is roughly 3 lanes across, and they're not marked, of course. So it's a little bit difficult to know if I'm in my lane or not. Plus I'm dodging potholes and other vehicles and people on bicycles. But all of a sudden on the far left lane, the cars were coming at me. I'm looking over there, it looks like they're paving or fixing the other side. No signs, no warning, nothing. All of a sudden cars are coming at me. You gotta be on your toes. Well, I'm off the major highway finally. I guess I'm more than 2/3 of the way to Playa Huron, which I think that's how you pronounce it, the Bay of Pigs. And it'll be my first night. Then I'll go on to Cienfuegos, just 20-30 kilometers past that. Then the third night will be Trinidad, and I'll be diving at all 3 of those locations. Like I said, I'm off the highway. On the highway, I picked up 2 police officers. I think they were getting off duty. drove the one for about a half hour and the other one for about 45 minutes. And now that I'm off the highway, I have picked up a couple of people, some young girls and some young boys. And nobody speaks any English. Just a couple words here and there. But it was interesting. I just passed through a town following the sign saying to Cienfuegos, which is where the main area I'm going to. And I guess I'm right, but the road was nothing more than an alley going between a bunch of houses. But I'm back on what looked like the highway before, so I guess I'm right.
This is my little Casa Particular for the night. I checked out Rancho Luna for the diving. Boat's kind of small and open. Hopefully my cameras will be okay. There's only two, they say they take 10 divers and it's only a 7-meter boat. They only have 2 signed up for tomorrow, so that's good. Hopefully the weather's good too. I have 2 rooms, and the other room is a little kitchen. And off the kitchen is the baños.
Well, I'm settled into my Casa Particular. My host speaks maybe 5-6 words of English. I can speak maybe 24 words of Spanish. None of them will form a complete sentence though. But we managed to communicate. We figured out that the room is about 25 pesos a night. That's maybe 26, 27 US dollars. Dinner is 10 pesos, a little high, but I've heard that the dinners at these Casa Particulars are outstanding. Breakfast is 4. That's a very good price. And some guy, I couldn't quite figure out his name, she goes like this. That means that he'll watch my car, my rental car, for 1 peso. We also worked out that I want to eat dinner at 6. They like to eat late, but I like to get to bed because I got to get up very early tomorrow. I worked out with her, I want to get up at 6 because I have to drive back into Rancho Luna to catch the boat and do some diving for the day, maybe 2 days, depending on how good the diving is. But until then, I'm sitting here with my Havana Gold. Salute. Oh, that's good.
Well, I just spent 3 days in Cienfuegos. Very little English. I stayed at I dove at the Rancho Luna. Diving wasn't bad. The labyrinths were fantastic. Visibility, not so bad. 70, maybe 80 feet tops. Very little fish though. All the fish were juveniles. I saw no groupers, just a couple of small snappers. And it's all spearfished out, the guys tell me. In fact, I did see some fishermen later on in the day. I spent 2 nights at 2 different Casa Particulars. Both of them very, very nice. The people wonderful. Food excellent. But just like at the hotel in Havana, bed very thin. My hips are killing me. Sleeping on boards with a thin pad. Maybe I'm on my way to Trinidad. Maybe that'll have thicker beds. Well, I took a sign that said turn left for Trinidad. It was a short road, maybe 50 meters or so. Came to a T. I took a left. Been on this road for about 10 minutes. Some older Cuban guy on the side of the road, kind of sickling grass. And I asked him if this was the way to Trinidad. He said, see? A bunch of other things. I have no idea what he said. But hand gestures, he said turn right someplace up here. So I think I'm heading in the right direction.
Is that dinner tonight?
I'm sitting in a little bar here in Trinidad. My 2 guides, Lucy and Pam, apparently aren't really allowed to come in here, especially sitting with a tourist. They're concerned about the police getting after them for prostitution. In fact, we had to call the police first to let them know that they'd be walking around with me. I guess I look like a John.
Okay, now I got video. You guys can move around a little bit.
I am sitting at a little cantina here on La Boca Ancan with a couple of Canadian friends. They just went to run to the baños, which there's nothing right here, so they went to their little casa particular. It's very quiet, very serene. There's a little tiny bar here. I'm sure it doesn't do much during the day, but at night I'm sure
This place is just packed with locals and tourists sitting around drinking because there's nothing else to do. The seas are very calm today. This is my last night in the Trinidad area, and tomorrow I'll be heading off to the north side of the island to do some diving up there.
Because of the train ride I went on with Michelle and Mark from Canada. We didn't get back until about 2:30. I checked out at my Casa Particular, and everybody's standing around my car. There's the tire was just a little bit low, but they brought me over to here to this fix all everything station, and found a couple of nails and some other garbage stuck in my tire. So I don't know if I'm going to make it very far tonight because it's already 3:15, and since there's no street lights, no street signs telling me where to go, it's hard enough during the day, so I don't know how far I'm going to get tonight. I am sitting on a balcony of a little hostel or Casa Particular in Santa Spiritus, which is just 50-60 kilometers from Trinidad. It's about it's going on 7 o'clock. They eat quite late here, like as in most places, but I do prefer eating earlier in the morning, earlier in the evening. But when in Rome, so I'll be eating about 8 o'clock shrimp again. That's usually on the menu along with pork, fish, or they call it beef. Tomorrow morning, I'll get breakfast here as well, and I will be heading on into past Santa Clara. There's no reason to stop there now. On my way to Cayo Santa Maria. I'll be staying at Villas Los Brojas, and I'll be diving there for a couple of days, then on to spend the night in Havana, and then I will take a bus to Maria La Gorda. I have dove there many times in the past. It is quite fantastic, and I'm looking forward to it because the diving so far, even though the reefs have been nice, there are literally no fish. They have spearfished it out. Today is Saturday. I'm on my way to Cayo Santa Maria. Yesterday I had a problem with that flat, like I mentioned. I understood the guy to tell me that it was no good. So he put it in the trunk and put my spare on. Well, today I tried to stop at the car rental place. Actually, it was their auto body repair place. And very difficult to explain what I wanted. However, they're telling me there's nothing wrong with that tire, that it's holding air just fine. The tread isn't quite as good. Maybe that's what the guy was trying to tell me back in Trinidad. So anyway, I'm back on the road, hopefully with a good spare. I'm on my way to Villas Los Brojas, which is on Cayo Santa Maria. And this looks exactly like the Florida Keys did about 35 years ago when I was living there. The same small road, everything's made out of coral rock, all these keys everywhere. This is exactly what Florida Keys looked like 35 years ago. Now, Florida Keys don't look anything like this. Still have vehicles going by occasionally, and the good news is there's a stripe down the center of the road. First one I've seen since I left Havana. If I do get to dive here in Cayo Santa Maria, it should be pretty darn good, as fish-wise anyway. With all these keys, all these mangroves, it's perfect for the nursery grounds and the hatching grounds for all the small fish. Also, you do have to pay 2 pesos to get out on this long stretch of road, which is nothing but coral rock piled on top of each other, so you can go through the mangroves, just like I said, just like the Florida Keys. So there's very few locals, so I doubt if there's going to be much spear fishing. There may be a few fishing boats by the government, but I am very excited. There should be a lot of fish out there, but I'm also watching myself here because the wind is still very strong and it's still very choppy back here, and I'm assuming that the waves are going to be pretty darn big out there, so I'm not sure if I'll be able to go or not. Well, I'm sitting in my little villa here in Las Brojas, out on Cayo Santa Maria. So I went to go check out the diving operations, and bad news, they're closed tomorrow.
even with them being closed, though, some deep sea fishing, a deep sea fishing boat just came back, and the people were complaining about the conditions. They said it was 2.5 meter waves. So I'm not going diving tomorrow anyway, and probably not the next day. The wind's been blowing steady for, well, since I've been to Havana for now, Cuba for over a week. So I won't be doing any diving the next 2 days either. So I called my travel agent back in Havana and said, I'm coming back tomorrow. There's no reason for me just to sit here and see if I can get to Maria LaGuardia 2 days early.
This single-lane road is the only way in or out of Maria LaGuardia. It is named after a Venezuelan woman who was left behind by prowlers after they got tired of her. The story goes that she survived and even prospered by running an inn for lonesome seafarers.
New York City in a funky cheap hotel.
REEF Environmental and Education Foundation collects quantitative fish surveys throughout the Gulf of Mexico and the Caribbean. The surveys are performed using the roving diver method and conducted by volunteer scuba divers. Over 100,000 surveys have been conducted thus far. The data is utilized by a variety of researchers for many different studies of fish populations, distributions, and the health of the reefs in general. Probably one of the more important aspects is to determine the effect of commercial fishing and to possibly set fish quotas and restrictions throughout the Gulf and the Caribbean. Unfortunately, data is lacking from the largest island in this geographical area, namely Cuba. Members of the parrotfish family, like this one here, and the wrasse family almost exclusively swim with their pectoral fins. Sponges like these colorful examples take in water through small pores, filter out food and oxygen, and then exhale through the large openings. Unlike hard corals, sea anemones are a single polyp minus an external skeletal home. But like other corals, a green algae lives inside their tissues in a symbiotic relationship. These don't look like typical worms, and that's because the head is modified to not only act as gills to absorb oxygen, but they also collect food particles drifting by. They're obviously very shy reef inhabitants. This Pedersen cleaning shrimp advertises that he's open for business by flicking his antennae. This symbiotic relationship involves unconditional trust, as the shrimp literally goes in and out of the fish's gills and even into the mouth. Jawfish make excellent fathers since they are the ones that carry the eggs in their mouths until they hatch. Even after the fry are free swimming, they return to the relative safety of Dad's jaws. Many survival strategies are used by underwater inhabitants, such as camouflage, disruptive coloration, or countershading. Most butterfly fish have either a false eye spot or a dark bar running through their eyes, or both. This confuses a would-be diner searching for a meal. Angelfish are similar in appearance and habits to butterfly fish, but on a much larger scale. Creole wrasse ask to be groomed by small cleaning fish by hovering head down. Sponges and corals must have a hard substrate to attach to and grow. Anything will do. Ships, whether purposely sunk or land on the bottom by accident, fit the bill nicely. They in turn attract small crustaceans and other invertebrates, which will then attract small fish, and finally larger varieties. And that way a reef is born.
When I dance, they call me Macarena, and the boys they say que soy buena. They all want me, they can't have me, so they all come and dance beside me. Move with me, chant with me, and if you're good, I'll take you home with me.
Hala tu cuerpo alegría Macarena, que tu cuerpo es para dar la alegría y cosas buenas. Hala tu cuerpo alegría Macarena, Macarena. Hala tu cuerpo alegría Macarena, que tu cuerpo es para dar la alegría y cosas buenas. Hala tu cuerpo alegría Macarena, Macarena.
Now don't you worry about my boyfriend, the boy whose name is Vitorino. I don't want him, couldn't stand him, he was no good, so I... Now, come on, what was I supposed to do? He was out of town, and his two friends were so fine.
Hala tu cuerpo alegría Macarena, que tu cuerpo es para dar la alegría y cosas buenas. Hala tu cuerpo alegría Macarena, Macarena. Hala tu cuerpo alegría Macarena, que tu cuerpo es para dar la alegría y cosas buenas. Hala tu cuerpo alegría Macarena, Macarena.
Remember, guys, this is video.
Lots of fish.
I'm not a terrorist. I'm like the least terrorist person on earth. And we saw two huge lobsters. That one big lobster.
I got a close up. And you didn't have that beard before you got here, did you?
Guantanamera, Guajira, Guantanamera, Guantanamera, Guajira, Guantanamera. Yo soy un hombre sincero, de donde crece la palma. Yo soy un hombre sincero, de donde crece la palma. Y antes de morir yo quiero cantar mis versos del alma.
And I think everybody here will back me up and say we had a great experience.
Salud.
Over here, Captain REEF, for pulling this whole thing together and helping us to experience so far the beginning of our trip to Cuba.
And make it illegal,
And also
tax deductible.
make it legal, tax deductible.
We'll let you know when we get home about that.
Tax deductible.
I'm sure you will.
What does it say on your shirt? You know, fat, happy and wet. I don't know, something like that.
El amigo sincero que me da su mano franca.
I know.
I see you're still on your caffeine high. Don't hide your face.
Mi verso es de un verde claro y de un carmín encendido. Mi verso es de un verde claro y de un carmín encendido. Mi verso es un ciervo herido